Juneteenth became a federal holiday back in 2021. It commemorates the day when Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced to the people that all slaves were free. Fox 6's Kim Murphy tonight shares the meaning of Juneteenth and why it matters.
It's one of the most consequential dates in U.S. history.
It's a dark side of history, but it is American history.
2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, Union General Gordon Granger was given a command to enforce Lincoln's executive decree. On June 19, 1865, he marched into East Texas, specifically Galveston. General Granger's command small and spread thin. Galveston was one of the last Confederate holdouts. Granger and his troops arrived there to deliver General Order Number 3, which focused on that region.
There were actually 5 orders, and General Orders Number 3 was the one that was most important.
The order informed the people of Texas that all slaves are free.
It's not that they didn't know. Even the enslaved were aware, because they would hear their enslaver discussing that what were they going to do.
The first Juneteenth was celebrated on Galveston Island, combining the words June and 19th.
Well, the first Juneteenth celebration, the largest one, I would say, one of the important ones, was shortly after, within the same year, there was a Freeman's fancy ball. They put on their fancy wear, whatever they could wear what would look fancy to them. But of course, there were celebrations at homes, at churches.
Juneteenth spread as former slaves moved across the South, but freedom did not bring equal rights or equal treatment. There were still many restrictions following emancipation. The Black Codes were enacted. The codes limited how many Black people could gather, what jobs they could hold, and then allowed authorities to arrest Black men who couldn't get jobs. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in December of 1865, but the Reconstruction era that followed, 1863 to 1877, 4 million Black people worked to find their place in the United States. And then for nearly the next 100 years, Jim Crow laws legalized racial segregation. Until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, they made discrimination because of race, color, religion, or national origin against the law. Milwaukee held its first Juneteenth in 1971.
A young lady named Margaret Henningsen. She visited her grandmother in the South and learned about the Juneteenth celebrations, and her grandmother tried to teach her history. So she brought that back to Milwaukee and said, we ought to have this festival and push to make it happen. The festival is an opportunity to bring everyone together, to try to show them the African American culture in American culture, because it is an American holiday, always has been.
But it took decades of lobbying for it to become a federal holiday.
Whether we're talking 1863 or 1865, the fact that freedom is finally here, and so we all know freedom wasn't free. It was a bloody time in our history.
Juneteenth recognizes the struggles of our past and looks with hope to the future.
Zoe, so let's start with you. You are now narrating this 2024 Juneteenth. What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. I was just thinking yesterday, right after I won, a lot of influence. People were coming up hugging me. The cameras were on me. So when I think about it, I think about the influence I'm about to have, the opportunities that I'm about to be able to have in the community to impact people in a great way.
What has it meant, now looking back at your reign?
Just like Zoe, the main thing was the influence I had on Black youth, especially Black girls. I didn't realize it at first, but even, like she said, when I won last year, the amount of little girls coming up to me and saying that they aspired to be like me when they grew up.
What inspired you? Why did you want to take part?
I wanted to take part because one of my biggest hopes in life is to just be a light for people, and to inspire other young men, young Black men specifically.
General Order Number 3 continues with, the freedom of former slaves involves absolute equality.
It's important to know why, indeed, African Americans want to understand and seek some of the same rights and privileges that others have.
In Milwaukee, Kim Murphy, Fox 6 News.
Juneteenth only became a federal holiday in 2021 following the Black Lives Matter movement and the renewed push for racial equality.